Well, hello, my fellow Voice of the Rings members, and welcome back to another episode of Voice of the Rings. We're going to do a Lord of the Ring excursion. So, me and Jethros, we're going to talk about commanders in the new Lord of the Rings RiseToWar mobile phone game, or in this case, we're playing it on BlueStacks, but we are going to talk about all the commanders, right? So there's many different heroes. They're going to add more in the future, but these are all things we want to talk about for today. So, we're going to go through them. We're going to talk about basic things, their strengths, what maybe they're good at, that kind of stuff. We'll go through all these commanders real quick, make it a short little video, and I'll bring in Jethros here. So anyway, all right, Jethros, welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up? All right, so we're going to talk about commanders a little bit. So I think we'll just go left to right, like I was saying a minute ago. So,
Alright.
so let's just start with Merry and Pippin, since we already talked about them. So again, Merry and Pippin are a tier 1 unit. So there are 3 tiers of units in this game. There is tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, which are the heroes. It just depends on really how much harder they are to get respect items. And then also, when you're using the Matham thing, which you've seen in my other video, which is where you get the respect items, which is right down here. Basically, you get a free daily spin and stuff, but you can do this little wish thing up here on the top, and you can choose what respect item you want to get when you do get a random. So you get to choose. This is the level 1 tier stuff, superior for them. The exquisite are the level 2 heroes. And if you click on them, they will say, like, this one's for Gandalf, right there, see? Right? This is for either Theoden or Éomer, right? Right? That kind of stuff. Merry and Pippin, and... I'm sorry, that one is Frodo and Sam. Merry and Pippin are level 1. Frodo and Sam are level 2 hero. And then again, the bottom one, these are all the high-level tier 3 heroes, such as Dane or, you know, Elrond. Alright, anyway. Now you guys know how to do that. Let's talk about it, Jethros. Alright, so we're going to go and look at Merry and Pippin. Alright, so we're going to talk about it mainly from a tree perspective. So this is where you would add respect, right? And there's 3 levels of respect, everyone. There is 1, 3, and 5, basically. But that'd be level 5 respect. But as you can see, if I want to get Merry and Pippin up, I can add this down here on the bottom, and it will go up. But what matters is the 3 different levels, right? So if you look right here, I'm going to move to this side. If you look, there's 3 different levels, right? There's level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 5 for respect. So I have to be level 5 to open this part of the tree. But what's important is it really just depends sometimes on what you're doing with the hero. So anyway, what do you want to talk about with Jethros with Merry and Pippin? What do you think? We thought they were pretty good with Ents, right? If you're level 3 with them?
Yeah, overall, they're pretty good with Ents. It's kind of hard. You have to be careful about getting excited about certain commanders that are good with the unique units, because generally speaking, it's going to be hard to get them early unless you're right next to them.
Yeah.
So it's
True.
kind of a gamble, more or less. But
So,
at
like,
the same time,
if you were playing, like, so if people were playing, like, Arnor or something, which is not on this server, but if they were, they'd be right on top of Hobbits. So they know they're probably going to get Hobbit units, because, like, they start on top of them. Kind of like how Gondor,
Exactly.
we're going to get Oathbreakers. Like, they start in our land.
right.
Yeah, so I guess Rohan, Isengard, and Elves, they can fight for the Ents, because they're all right there. So.
Yep, exactly. But you're right. I mean, the benefit is good with Ents, you know, because of the movement speed that it gives. Because honestly, one of the biggest weaknesses of Ents is how slow they cause your troops to move, which can be hard because they also have a decent amount of siege damage. So you kind of want them to be able to move a little bit more quickly, to be able to get those siege hits off before people can defend. But I mean, if you have respect 1, you're pretty much just, you know, grinding out tips or something.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, what else are you going to do with these guys? The tips, and honestly, I don't know why you would ever have a character that's fully in tips when you'd probably rather just buff up another character anyways and get experience for them from your tips when you're sleeping at night. So
Yeah. True. Like, it just depends on how many heroes you have. If you only have a couple, you really want to be using all their stamina. But, like, for me, since I have, like, 10 heroes, even if I have all that stamina, I could switch armies and stuff. Usually I don't have enough armies by the end of the day. So, like, that's why I still have 1 or 2 heroes that use tips, like, as their points. But again,
Mhm.
you can just throw in tips, right? Because Harfoot gives faster tips, which is a good way to get the respect too, guys. You don't have to just use Matham coins. You can use these tips and you'll get a little respect daily things in the tavern, which
Mhm.
are, well, we're in here, let me show them. It's these things right here. I don't have any points to get more right now, but anyway, yeah. So
One thing I'll say about a lot of the tips trees is like usually the tip time completed is like not that great, but the experience gained from tips is kind of nice. In the early game, you kind of level up a little faster.
kind
So
of
I
like,
kind of wish like they would switch the title with the like if they would switch Harfoot's with
yeah.
Inquisitive. And then if you maxed out Inquisitive, then you would get the 2 commanders when completing tips. Because I feel like then you could dip into the pipe read connoisseur without it feeling that it just completely sad and depressing if you wanted to go for that focus bonus. But I
Yeah,
mean, ultimately, your focus is going to help you a lot with the healing that they have.
yeah, because
And they
focus is
also
always from
benefit
healing usually, right?
at
Yeah.
Respect 5 from having good focus because wild magic is actually pretty darn strong.
That's
So,
yeah, because it's a really good ability. Because the main things with heroes, if people don't know this game, is that there's pretty much might damage and focus damage, right? Those are like the two big things, right? So movement speed is one thing, which helps your commanders in the fight and traveling. Focus affects the commander's ability to do magic like things, burning, poison, or focus damage, magic damage. And then might is the physical damage of your whole army and your character's physical melee abilities. Whether, let's say, it's Gimli, who does a lot of melee abilities. But again, focus also protects your army from other focus damage and helps them. So they're kind of both, they're all like most multifaceted. But again, if you click on a hero like this, everybody, if it says Merry and Pippin support, it kind of like tells you right at the top a little, like, kind of what they're good at. But again, Jethros and we were talking about this the other day, it's really not that, it's kind of generic, right? Right, Jethros? It's pretty generic. the tip master thing and stuff. So, like, again, yes, they're very good at it. I haven't noticed this. If you spec them different, do those change, or are those always the same on the top?
they stay the same
They
no
stay
matter
the
what. They're
same.
just giving you a general idea for what the character should be used for.
Okay, yeah. So a
Generally
support,
a good concept.
yeah. So support commanders get plus 25 command focus, plus 5 skill points, which is cool at level 20. And then they have a lot of tip reducing things, Merry and Pippin. So that's
Yeah,
yeah.
like the support thing is meaningful because it actually gives you stats when you get it and skill points depending on which one you see. But usually the second tab over where it will say like tip master or sometimes it'll say like control, it's just letting you know,
Yeah.
this is what the skill tree probably is going to do most effectively.
Got it. Cool. So now that we've gone, I think we have a good baseline. So now let's fly through some heroes here. So then
Alright.
Merry and Pippin, so they're good at tips. They're good at healing units from the back. They're more better with the focus, right, than might. They're definitely not a might hero.
Definitely not, no.
So they're definitely focus based. They have abilities to help hobbits and men, right here. That's the Hobbit Adventurer. Reduction damage, increased HP, which might be a good little mix if you can get Ents and Hobbits, which are both special units. You have to have get a camp to hire them. You could do some kind of mix with those. And then the level 5 though, respect is really good. That's when they can actually do damage, right? With this.
Yeah, and plus you get the madness, so the
This
fact that you can have your enemies' units attacking each other instead of you, and even if they do hit you, you're usually taking less damage because Ents are pretty tanky.
so it's like a super awesome everything around. Yeah, it's really good. And then at the bottom down here, right underneath, you can't see it. There's always going to be a fifth one right there, but it's just a little reduction in your melee units damage each round. So kind of makes them tanky. So while your enemies are fighting properly. But anyway, let's go to the next person, Ori. All right, Ori. So I have him respect 3. Again, he is a balanced character, which means he gets 25 command. He gets plus might, focus, plus 2 speed, at level 20, all these things. And then he's a tip master. He's good at tips. He's a little bit more like Merry and Pippin in that way. But the cool thing he has is the same as Dwalin, right? Which is the musician, right? Jethros and the healing
Yep.
Level-headed.
The trees are exactly the same. This bottom left tree and then the
middle.
Respect 5 tree.
Yeah.
And the only thing is, instead of Dwalin's extra damage dealing tree, this guy has the tip tree.
The clerk, yeah. So you can use this. It'll increase his focus a little bit, and then he gets faster doing tips, and he gets more experience from doing tips, which is great early. Again, you can always respec your hero. It costs 20 of the gems, which isn't too bad at all. And then Durin's Blood is damage, right? Damage. Whirlwind is a damage ability, hits 2 different groups of units. Really important. We probably should tell people this if they don't know this. A commander can have up to 3 groups of units, but you could also just have 1. So like, if you have some archers, some melee units, and maybe some mounted units, or you could have just a bunch of archers just in your group, and they all count as like 1 health bar. But if it's 3 groups of units, melee, archers, and horses, they're 3 different groups of health bars, which is when that comes important is because an ability like this, Whirlwind, says that against 2 enemy targets. So that would be, so if the enemy only had 1 group of units, all archers, it only would hit once. But if they had archers and a melee group of units, he could hit both groups. And this one does prioritize melee units though. So if he has 2 frontline melees and an archer unit, he's not going to hit the backline with this ability. So that's one of the things kind of important for everyone to know. They also probably need the round thing. You should describe the round thing, where it says skill round 2 for Whirlwind.
Oh yeah, so basically the cooldown starts at round 1. So there'd be a cooldown for round 1, and then round 2 there'd be a cooldown, and that means it would first go off at round 3. And then there would be another 2-round cooldown on round 4 and round 5, and then the skill would go off again at 6. And it just continues like that until round 10, where there's the tie, or if somebody wins, then it ends early.
Yeah. So you could finish before round 10, but if you get to round 10, a bunch of units die on both sides, and you go into a duel phase, 5 minutes, and your characters will fight again unless one of you retreat, or another army attacks or something.
Right.
Yeah, so that's really good to know, because these terms, and then people will
It is important to,
these.
especially skills that say 1-round cooldown are usually very strong, because your commander's allowed to basically hit every other turn.
Yeah.
And it's worth noting that some of the skills say round 1 underneath their actual like ability, where it explains what it does. If it says round 1, then that means it goes off on that round, starting that round. Yeah. So there's some skills that do that we could talk about later.
Yeah, definitely. We'll go into that. So definitely, and the cool thing then with Ori, so again, you'll notice with some different races, like for example, Ori and Dwalin have, and even and the other dwarves like Gimli, they have similar trees in some areas, right? So like Durin's Blood, this ability that gives you damage for your combat, and then if you max it out, if you get all 15 points into it, right? Because you look at each ability, if they have a certain amount of points that you can max into them. I'll show you that in a second. But it's 15 for the big ones, the orange ones, and 7 for the little blue ones when you max them out. But so blood, notice that like Durin's Blood. Okay, so we're gonna go to another character. But anyway, again, Ori has specialties like Dwalin. So we're gonna go straight into Dwalin because it will make sense for people then. So Dwalin is a warrior, so that means he gets extra might and he does more physical damage. But now if you look at his tree, if you notice Durin's Blood is the same thing, Musician is the same thing, and even the same names and what they do. But the difference is he doesn't have the tip tree, he has Experienced Warrior, which is really good. And he does lots of damage. So this is all basically Experienced Warrior. This hero can either buff your units if you trait him right, or he can do the damage. But I think Gimli's a little better doing damage because he's a level 2 hero instead of 1. We're still in 1 heroes. But I do have Dwalin Respect 6, which means I have the last tree right here. So that really helps out. I definitely like the build you showed me though for killing dragons. Basically use one group of axe throwers. So it's one big health bar, just a lot of damage. And then you use Musician so they have more defense and their whole army gets +3 attack when you get this maxed. And then Level Headed removes 1 random debuff. And the thing why that's good is dragons, when you do the raid boss dragon in this game, they put a fire debuff, so it'll remove 1 random debuff, and since you only have 1 group of units, it removes the buff, which is awesome, and heals your troops. right? Same thing with
Yeah.
this one, relief. They get recovered 25% health, right? So again, now if you look at Durin's blood, it's the same thing in musician as Ori was, right? They're literally the same abilities. Whirlwind, 2 targets, same thing. All in. If you notice, a lot of the dwarves have all in. It's a good ability, but it does reduce your damage for the next thing you hit with. So we could talk about that with Gimli. That would be a good one to talk about, Jethros. And then
Yeah.
Warrior of the Lonely Mountain. That's a cool one. That's a good one. The last one. I think most dwarves have that, right?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty common one across
Yeah.
all of the dwarves.
So they just...
It's just really great, and there's obviously a good lore reason behind it, which is cool.
Yeah. This game is really lore friendly. I really like that. They've done a really good job. Even if you notice the names of things, like, again, like one of Gandalf's abilities is Mithrandir, right? His elvish name. That's kind of cool. Or like Faramir has the last Steward, which is also cool because Aragorn makes him the Steward when he becomes king, right? Still, so like that's kind of cool. And then of course Aragorn's son becomes king later.
Now, one thing I'll say, like, if with the new season coming up and stuff, one of the things that is worth thinking about is some of these tip commanders, like Ori in specific. In the back of my head, I'm thinking, hey, I can level him up purely from tips.
Yeah.
And then I can eventually, potentially respec him later once he's at a higher level, gets that extra experience from tips, and then you can just make him do a build for dragon slaying.
Exactly. So he'd be like
that
a
would be really good with
secondary,
him.
because you could do the exact same build him and Dwalin, right?
Yeah.
So,
but the thing is that I would say that Dwalin, if you have the ability to respec whenever you want, then sure, go for it. But I think you're going to get a lot more out of him combat-wise if you go with Experienced Warrior and Durin's Blood.
And not to mention, Dwalin is a warrior, so he has more might, which is going to help his army
so he's going to do more damage.
Slightly
Skills and with his regular attacks, which especially, I mean, I've been noticing personally that when you see these commanders that actually have their normal attack damage increase, it's a lot more meaningful than you'd think because they're doing a normal attack every single round, and so the damage really adds up over 10 rounds in a fight. So
yeah, definitely. So do you want to talk about Awen, because I know you like this character as a level 1?
Yeah, right. So Eowyn's really great. She's probably
Balanced.
The best character at respect 1, or sorry, not respect 1, at tier 1 for the commanders in my opinion, mostly actually because of flexibility. If you look at her tree, she's very good with mounted units, as you would expect.
Yeah, the Rohirrim.
But she also is very good with just regular damage as well, because she has the ability to go into Shield Maiden and get skill damage from that tree, and then goes into Durhelm to give herself damage and have access to another damaging skill, and then it's actually pretty good. So like if you didn't have access to mounted units, she's still a viable pick. She's, I would say, B tier with that build without but she's definitely A or even S tier. A lot of people would say if you do the Rohirrim build and then you have Respect 5 and you're able to go into White Lady of Rohan and just kind of go that route. Very, very, very good, especially with Gondor and especially with Rohan starting out.
Yeah, definitely. So and then it's cool too because she's got the, like you were talking about, the 1 round cooldown ability. So that means that she doesn't attack the first round, but she attacks in round 2, 2, 4, right? Every other.
Right. So attack vitals is very, very good DPS. And then also cripple has 1 round cooldown. So that's another one that in her respect 3.
Cripple bear. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
and
again,
that one will make her do lots of damage.
And I only have her respect. She's not even respect 1 yet, right? So I would have to get her up a few levels to use her with the other things. But still, I could use her as in Rohirrim, and she'd get these horse buffs, right? Mounted combat uses less down here. Cleave, 1 enemy, deal physical damage, affected by modified by speed. So there are abilities that are affected by might, focus, and speed. All 3 of those are kind of like the main stats in this game.
Right. One thing that's interesting that I noticed is that cleave actually does a lot more damage than you would think. I saw a cleave said, it says 48% at round 1, and then you can like click over onto something like cripple that does 39%. Actually, I saw one that said it was about 70%. And basically I play tested it and I found that actually cleave did more damage because of that speed scaling. It made enough of a difference to actually be doing more damage than the percentage when you compare the percentages together.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, so she's a really good unit.
So when something scales, it's worth noting that it probably can do more damage than you would think.
Yeah, and then it's also and then it's important too to look at their base stats too. Like her base stat is 107 for speed, which is crazy. So she's a really fast champion.
Absolutely.
Which means she also hits more, right?
She doesn't hit more; it just hits first, which matters because if you hit first, then
initiative.
They take damage and they get weaker because they lose troops before they get to hit, which means they do reduce damage, basically.
Yeah. So she's got like a high initiative, which is really good. That's okay, sweet. And now I want to look at one thing I'm going to do is I need to finish this thing off before I forget. We will keep doing heroes. I just realized I haven't killed this thing yet. Alright, there we go. Alright, and now we want to look at, I want to bring up my commanders down here, which is this button down here. So this is this view. These are the commanders I actually have. This is in the respect tree. But I want to go into A1 real quick and just show everyone. So again, the things here, right, you have, this one is the respect level that you'll have all the time, even when every season when it resets, this will always stay the same. Your level of your character, which she's 37 right now, that will reset to 1, but your gear will stay the same, that you level up and you like enhance and refine. We're not going to talk about gear in this video, but again, this will increase all your stats. What is oh, and command is how many groups of units you can have. So there are some heroes that are going to have bonuses to command, like Theoden and Dwalin are leaders. They get the leader bonus, so they get a +5 to that. And as you level up, you can have more and more people, up to level 50 for every hero. Your stamina, there's the normal level that you're earning. This is the daily stuff you can use, stamina. And then we're not going to talk about gear though, but I wanted to go into the signing points right here and show you what it looks like without doing the wrong button I grabbed. So anyway, this is what it looks like when you're actually speccing, right? So I don't have any points to use right now. I could reset right here, spend 20. It'll give me all my points back and I could respec. I'm not going to, but I just want you to see how it's 15 out of 15, right? You can see that. So now that I have 15 out of 15, if you look at the bottom, it says max level effect. You get +15 focus. So that's why sometimes it's good to max them out, but you don't have to max them out. So I could put 1 point into cleave and then get this extra ability use. Sometimes it's better to have 1 point, right, Jethro, than just nothing. Because then at least she hits with an ability, right? Because no matter what,
I mean, it can be worth. There's a lot of 1 point wonders where you get a lot of benefit from just putting 1 point in it and then building into other trees.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially certain skills that have like guaranteed stuns or give things like initiative to your commanders. It might be worth putting 1 point in just to get that added bonus, or if it gives it to a unit as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then another important thing too is that like we found out that like with Gimli or with the ability All In, right? When you use it, the next thing that happens is going to be 50% less. But we realized that one ability comes before another. Let's see. Let's go to Gimli real quick. This is important before I lose track of what I'm saying here. Gimli uses All In, but it says it reduces the next damage dealt. But we found out when we tested it, right? We tested this a lot the other day. We found out that break defenses and open wound, it does break defenses before it does open wound, which means break defenses does some damage, but it's 50% less damage. But it still gives the wound reduction. I mean, the defenses reduction, the same. And then, because that one went off, when it does open wound, which is right below me here, right here, it then does full damage because it already triggered. But if we hadn't had 1 point in break defenses, open wound would have gone off, and it would have done half damage, even though it does 70% versus 37%. So that was really important. I don't know if I described that quite a little bit confusing, but it was good to have 1 extra point in that and have another ability because it made it where he was able to use all the abilities, and one of them, the one that didn't matter as much, was reduced instead of
the one that had the least damage was the one that got the reduced damage.
Exactly. So it ended up helping to have 1 extra point in that, because then it made the next ability work instead of So, and that's really important for people to think about because we spent like an hour respecking and doing battles to figure that out. Because again, when you do a battle, they give you a little message thing, and you can go and read about it, guys, with your own little thing here. But let's say if you do a battle, you go into this thing here, you go in this little here I'm gonna these things here. If you click on this one right here, right, this one, it brings up this thing, and it actually says the math of everything that happens, which is a little confusing. You don't always have to know all this, but if you're really confused and see what happens in what order, this is what you need to look at. And then you could also just look at the more generic stuff, which is like this here, which is just the different damages, what happened in the fight, right? So, and like, see, so Balin is a leader, so if you notice that his commander damage is only 35,000, but his army did 177, and then he healed a lot, right? And we destroyed him. But if you look at my Dwalin, who I've done all into my, also leading my army right now. Wait a second now. I need Gimli. Where's Gimli? There's Gimli. All right, let's look at Gimli's damage. Gimli does a lot of damage. So we look at Gimli. Gimli's army did 71,000, but Gimli did 144,000. So I've spec'd him into doing the damage so that he does the damage as the commander, not his army as much. So these are important things to know.
Good.
All right, so let's see. Am I gonna get this thing in time? Do I need to hit it again? To make sure I don't lose my mummy kill camp as we talk. No, we're good.
Yeah, man, you gotta get your priorities straight.
I know. Trying to help show people heroes, and we don't get our stuff done. All right, let's look at Haldir real quick. Let's try to move through some of these heroes a little faster for people. Okay, so I don't know that much about Haldir. Would you have any good stuff, Jethros? I actually respect 6 on him, or 5. So
oh, really?
I have all
That's
3
awesome.
trees. Yeah.
Sounds like you should test him out a little bit for us. But I have a pretty good idea of him too. I only have him respect 3, but yeah. Oh, you're talking about Haldir. I was thinking Aragorn for a second.
Yeah.
So
the elf,
Haldir, yeah. So basically, he's really great because he's got this guide that's giving you stun immunity for the first 2 rounds, which is incredible against the Gandalfs that are out there.
Yeah.
Because basically he gives plus 45 bonus % for the first 2 rounds, and while he has that bonus, the army gains stun immunity. So that's incredible. Plus he's got Foresight, which underneath that, which gives the first 4 rounds they have a 70% chance to avoid, to ignore the avoidance status, and so that's going to be really good again against Gandalf, who has a lot of ways to avoid damage, but also it's incredible against the Oathbreakers. Because they take so much physical damage, because their ability to not take physical damage, that is usually what protects them from that. And when you hit through that avoidance, they just take massive damage because they have 0 defense, unless there's equipment involved.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm clicking on him as you tell us the skills, but the reason he's saying bigger number just because he's looking at it on his thing that has 7 out of 7. He has all the points in it. So when I click on these, this is the level 1, like 1 out of 7. That's why it says 4 rounds, only 10% chance. But when you put 7 points in this, that becomes 70% chance. Just so everyone knows when they're
most
looking at my
of the
screen.
Time you can do the math quickly by just multiplying it by 7 if it's a smaller skill, or multiply by 15 if it's a gold one, which is they're called titles.
And the way they do it was weird with the percents. Basically, so if March Warden is 16%, you're really just doing 16 times 15, and then it's going to be like 100 and something %, right? That's kind of the weird thing with the percents, right? That's how they do it. Let me look at a commander real quick.
Yeah, it usually goes up by 16 each time you put a point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's not like we're gonna have a. So if you look, for example, here, like I have 6 points in Gimli on collaboration, right? So in 6 point he has 107%. If I put the last point in it, he'll do 125%, right? So again, you can see that little percent kept adding to how much. So, cool. So we talked about, so Haldir then mainly is good at doing not being stunned, right, against Gandalf, and then he's also really good at
with ranged units too. He's got a lot of things. I think
he
shines because we really do need counters to Gandalf out there. He's honestly just really OP right now.
Yeah.
And so Gandalf the Gray is really good, and Gandalf the White has some similarities, but I think the Gray is specifically better, and
He's
this
just
guy
super
basically
tank.
counters him pretty hard. In addition to that, though, if you wanted to build this guy a little differently, he does have the ability to just increase the range damage from his ranged characters, which is really great. You get a lot more value out of your troops that way. His actual damage is not that high on its own, but he has a couple skills that are worth mentioning. And
Cold
I would
Weak
say
is a
Armed
good one.
Escort in particular, the fact that it gives a little bit of healing every other turn is kind of nice.
March Warden? Yeah.
It's in the guide. Yeah, it's called Armed Escort.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. I see it, yeah. And then he
it
also
only heals one unit, though, so this is where how many units you have matters.
Yeah.
Because if you have 3 units, then you're only healing one of them for that percentage.
And
but if you have only one unit they're using to fill all of your command up, you're going to get a lot more value out of your heals.
Yeah, and one unit is always going to be, it'll be random, right? If you have more than one group of units, if you have up to 3? Or does
as far
it
as
just
I know, I don't know if there's a way to manipulate it at all.
Target?
Seems random to me.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be random. But and then of course he has stuff like Beast Training, Foresight, which is the one that increased that your ranged things have a chance to do a double hit, which is amazing. Physical, and then the Galadriel is allied range units. Physical damage do more, modified by speed stat again, which is interesting. Though when you max the ability, it gives more might, so which will increase their physical damage too. So that's why it can be a little confusing because things are mixed in it. But cool. All right, let's go to another character. So let's talk about Boromir, and then he's a leader. So right, so Boromir is a specialist and a leader, which means he will be able to have at level 50, he will be able to have more units, at any level really. He just gets extra 5 for how many people can fit in your group. Again, the max group, right, at 50 for a high level leader is 80, right? I think my level 50 Dwalin can have 80 units. So if I click on Dwalin here, see how it says 55 out of 80? So he's not even full right now, but then if I also click on Dwalin, if you notice he has 3 different groups, right? So again, if I go into my armory and I go into this, right? I'll show you this real quick. This is where you can kind of adjust how many. So I have 2 different groups of people. He actually has no Ram Riders. You can see he has 0 out of 0. But he just has a bunch of Guardians. But I could adjust, right? I could lower some of these and add some Ram Riders, and then I don't have any right now. But it would be cool because then he'd have. But right now he's one group of people, basically. Those are the groups, right? So those are important. I was just showing him the actual what it looks like on the thing. Because it's kind of important to know. There's the difference between 3 groups of units in a hero, and then how many actual units they can have, which are the command. And each group of units has a different limit of how many soldiers are in a command, right? So like Ents have like 5 in a command, right? Or Bjornings, where like Dwarven Guardians have like 50 guys in a command or something. I think that's how it works, right? Usually. I don't know the exact numbers for those, but that's not important.
Yeah.
Alright, let's look at Boromir. He's amazing. So, he gets more people in his army.
That is correct.
He's got High Warden of the White Tower. So, that's a damage dealing ability. Increases damage caused by this skill and prioritizes a melee target when it's max level. He's got Disarm, which is cool. Again, these are a lot of fast abilities. So, Swing is 1 round cooldown. The High Warden is 1 round, 2 round cooldown for Disarm, but that's pretty cool because the next target does less physical damage. That's pretty cool.
A lot less. It actually does like only 10% damage. It's like ridiculous.
So because if it's 11.1 at that, times that by 15, yeah, that's insane. Yeah, they do like no damage. That's crazy. And then Air, that's pretty cool. They get a defensing stacking bonus, all your units. That's really cool. So it's more of his leadership bonus. If you were going to do more as him leading your army. Again, there's a fine line of, do you want your hero to be doing damage, or do you want him to be leading your army? And sometimes you can mix it, but I feel like a lot of times, I don't know you agree with this, Justros, I feel like it's kind of good to do one or the other. Because otherwise, with the way you do your units.
Yeah, I mean, we're dealing with percentages, so the more you have put into something, the more value you get from your percentages a lot of the time.
Yeah. And then,
for example, in nobility, where it says men damage gets the increase on percentage, the more men you have, the more that damage is going to increase.
Yeah, so if you're using a bunch of dwarves, that's going to be completely useless on Boromir, too.
Well,
which
they're
is
just not going to be as strong as
yeah,
men.
because they won't even get nobility. It won't work, right? Too, because
Right.
that's what's so important. And then, but Galliant, that goes to him. He gets speed and might, which is cool. So if you're focusing on just making him be strong, that would be good. Warden's good. That's the whole. Now Warden is the whole allied army, so it doesn't matter what kind of units you're using, it's gonna help, right?
Right.
Which is the avoidance, which is really cool. And then your whole army gets +2 health, or melee units get +2 health at max level. I have him honor 3, or level 3 respect. So there's difference between, again, respect and level, everybody. So keep that in mind. Respect you keep.
You also, when
forever.
you level up a character, you get a point every time.
Yeah.
For this.
For the tree.
So you get 1 point for every respect, and you get 1 point for every level on your character.
Yeah. So once you max them out to level 50 for the season, you have 50 points to use. But if you also have respect 5 on him, you can have the fifth. You can have the third tree open, and you also have 5 more points to use in the whole tree, right?
Right. So, and then sometimes the commander's little tags give an extra couple of skill points, or even sometimes an extra 5 skill points, which is nice.
Yeah, which again is like leader specialist. That's command +5, or that's pretty cool. And then it looks like he also has the Horn of Gondor first 3 rounds. Respect his commander damage. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that goes up to 20% at 15.
That's crazy. Well prepared when hit by an enemy normal attacks within range, perform a counterattack. That's super cool. So, and that's for all the melee units in your army, right? In Boromir's army?
Yeah. That's as long as they're within range of the one hitting them, then it'll counterattack. But if they're if you're a melee unit attacking another melee and a range hits you, it doesn't really count. It's kind of hard to understand that when you're reading the battle logs, but when you actually watch the video play out of the battle, you'll see how the different groups actually run at a specific target. And it kind of makes sense.
Sweet, that's cool. All right, sweet. Well, we're almost done with the tier 1 heroes. Let's talk about Hirgon real quick. We already kind of both he's a siege master, right? So Harold is a tip thing.
Actually amazing. I just sieged an enemy base I only have him level 25, which means you get 25 command at level 1. So that means he had 50 command, and I had all guardians from the dwarves, because they have 20 command per unit, or 20 siege per unit, which they have 100 in each command. So that's 2,000 siege damage for each one. So I basically did 100,000 base without the logistics, and then I had the logistics +7 on there, and it increased that by another 36 or 37,000 damage.
Wow.
So it really makes a big difference, because
this
you have 100.
Logistics is crazy. This ability. Yeah.
Yep. And I was thinking after seeing that, I probably need to level this guy up. How much faster you can siege, it's incredible.
Because again, if people are newer to the game and they're trying to learn, when you attack a base, so let's say someone has a fort, or let's say you're taking a city like Minas Tirith, the actual building has health. So there's armies that are naturally in, so forts don't have armies in them unless someone puts their own army in there to defend it. But once that army dies, then you have to start beating up on the actual fort itself, its health, to remove it, which is what siege damage comes in. So that's what's important. So, and if you're attacking Minas Tirith, they usually you can put your own armies in if it's yours to defend it, but there's also, a city like Minas Tirith has a certain set number of automatic NPC defenders, non-player defenders, who just defend it if it's yours. And you have to kill all of them, and then there's usually an hour or so before they all reset. And then at that point, you all have to siege it, and you have to get its health down. And then if you do get the health down of the city, which is 20 million or something for Minas Tirith, then you capture it for your faction, right? If you were attacking them. So that's why siege is important, and that's why this guy's good at sieging. Yep. Logistics is crazy. And then he also has march speed for his army, which is also cool, because if you're just trying to siege really fast over and over, you just back and forth real quick, keep hitting something. And then, of course, he does have devotion. and Cleave and Gallant, which is interesting because it's more for him, right? So that's if you wanted him to be doing damage.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
actually worth a little bit of testing to see how much damage he actually does. Because like I said, that one ability, Cleave, that scaled with speed actually did quite a bit of extra damage from the speed scaling.
Yeah.
And he has 2 abilities that scale with speed. He's got Cleave as well,
Yeah.
like as we talked about with Eowyn, but then also he's got this red arrow
That's very
that
interesting
actually
one.
does extra healing based on speed modification.
And then he's got
which is pretty
reinforcement too, which also is a healing one.
Yeah, and they made this heal up, but this one won't scale with speed, but it does do a good amount of healing.
I kind of feel like he'd be good with the dwarf goats, because like they also have a lot of siege damage, or like goats and like guardians, like you're saying, because then he'd be good at sieging and then also have like really defensive stats to heal them.
Yeah, it could be pretty decent.
And then he has Warden too. Warden's really good too for melee units. And then he's got collaboration and defensive stats. And again, you've noticed if it's the same name, but it's sometimes you have the same ability on a different hero, but it's the same name, so it does pretty much the same thing usually. Always. It looks like Devotion does the same thing, right? As like the one that the other person has. Doesn't Devotion do the same thing, or because Dwalin has it, right? Let me look. No, he's Experienced Warrior. It's a different ability. Who else has Devotion?
It's just the icon
Boromir?
is the same, which is why it's confusing.
Yeah.
Icon's just
someone else had Devotion, I thought. I can't think of what it is. Is it Pharamir? No, it's not. But anyway, why don't we move on to Pharamir? We'll do the last low-level guy here.
Sounds good.
Alright. So again, lore, Last Steward, that's kind of cool. But really, again, Last Steward is just increases how fast you do tips. Leader, experience gained from battles, that's cool. Levels them up faster. And then Inquisitive is experience gained from tips. But then Ranger, this is the one, or wait, it's Guide, right? This is the one that's important against like the Oathbreakers, right? Or Gandalf or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good for that.
All right, because Guide prevents the stunning, which we already talked about with Haldir. And then Foresight is the one where they have a chance, when you get this level 7, it's a 70% chance to ignore enemy avoided status. And the reason why that's good is because Oathbreakers can't be hit by physical damage. That's their ability. But this is a chance to avoid their ability to not be hit. They get hit anyway. So that's why that's so good. Rangers, these are just buffs for him doing damage, flanking. And then his tier 5 is pretty cool. Air. It's the same. Actually, you know what's funny? His tier 5 is the same thing as Boromir's tier 1, huh?
Yes.
Interesting. Kind of little tidbit there. All right, well, why don't we hit on, let's do some tier 2 heroes and talk through them real quick. And then...
Before we move on from Faramir, I did want to talk about one of his skills.
Yeah, which one?
So if you look in Rangers of Ithilien, you could see he has his rush ability to the right of it. And you'll notice that when you read the text, it says round 1 against one enemy. So again, this is what I was talking about earlier, where instead of it being a 1-round cooldown and then him attacking on round 2, it actually attacks on round 1, and then there's a 1-round cooldown and it attacks on round 3.
Oh, so they're trying to let you know, because if it just said at the top skill round 1 cooldown up here, it would have been attacking on round 2.
Exactly.
But this one's telling you it starts on round 1, so then it'll be round 1 and 3 instead of 2 and 4.
Which is great, because if the earlier you can get your hits in, the weaker your enemy's armies will be when they hit
back. Yeah. Which again, it's a numbers game. One thing we've totally found out in this game from the beginning is, let's say there's a power to every group of units with your hero. So let's say I click on Gimli, right? He's got 71,500 power with his full army right here. As you can see, the blue, 72 out of 72. If I fought something that had 75,000 power, he'd lose a lot more units than fighting something that also had around 71,000 power. But if I fight something that's, say, like 60,000 power, when he has 71, he'll destroy them. So that's why it's really important when you do a battle that whoever attacks first, the number game really matters with math in this. So having a much larger margin than your opponent is a good thing. If you have way less than your opponent, it's a very bad thing. You're going to lose way too many troops. It's probably not worth fighting. So that's important to remember. So that's a really good point, Jeffers. Very good. People are going to love this. You're all going to love this and like this video, right, everybody? Okay, let's do so tier 2 real quick here. And then I'll try to let you talk a lot more with these, and I'll just go through them real quick so we can get through them. So anyway, so Frodo and Sam. I have not used Frodo and Sam because I don't have them yet, but they're tip masters apparently. But have you seen anyone use these Jethros?
Yeah, they're not really anything special overall. They're very similar to Merry and Pippin.
Yeah,
and they're just a lot harder to get.
Inquisitive.
They could be pretty good with really good equipment stats if you like put really good equipment on them, because they get percentage bonus on that. And then they kind of have a similar
Prudence is kind of cool.
Ability to cause madness.
Yeah, they have the Starlight.
At rank 5 at respect 5.
And it's against
The thing that is worth mentioning them more than anything else though is this Elven rope skill, man. I just think that's incredible.
Where is it in the?
It's the R5,
at the bottom. It's under here.
Elven
on the
rope.
5th. Yeah.
Each round against one enemy targets. There's a max
12.
level. What would that be? Like a.
Oh gosh.
Is that a 100% chance of being stunned for 3 rounds?
Wow. It's like what they used on Gollum. That's really good. Yeah, because 7 times. That's really close. It probably is 100. 12.9%. Yeah. That's really crazy.
And
it's a 3-round cooldown.
It says each round against one enemy target. But
so wait, is there a chance?
3-round cooldown. So I think that maybe it just goes off starting at round 4.
Okay, and then so round 4, and then they're stunned for 5, 6, 7, and then it goes off on another random person for the last 3 rounds.
I don't know. I'd love to test it out. But either way, even if it was just the worst case scenario of what I'm thinking, it would still be good.
Yeah, that's crazy. So again, their abilities are they base stats from equipment. So some heroes have this, right? So anything they have is really good. And at max level, their hobbit units get defense. Again, hobbit units are someone you could just get. You have to hire them from a camp, right? The only kind of units you could just get in this game are dwarf units, elf, human, and human being Gondor and Rohan. Those are the 4 kinds of units pretty much in the game. And then each faction has a special unit, tier 4 unit, and then any other units in the game, you have to have the camp to get the unit, whether it be an Ent, an Eagle, Beorning, Hobbit, those kind of creatures. Mumakil, all those things. But again, if you're playing on a role-playing server, if you're a good guy, you can't be using Mumakil. So you can take the camp and get points, but for the power, but you cannot use the animals. All right. Sweet. So they're pretty cool. So they've got some similarities to Merry and Pippin, and their abilities at the end of the tree are really good. All allies have a chance to avoid physical damage every round. 24 minutes. That's crazy. The ring bearers? Oh my goodness. And this terror thing? Wow. Yeah, that's cool. All right. Ooh, okay. Aragorn. I'm sure you have lots to say about him. Balance champion. This guy's he's so good. So Aragorn the Second. And not to be confused with Aragorn, King of Men the Second, which is a tier 3 hero. Same person.
Yeah, so basically, Aragorn's just really good for damage at respect 1, and
his top
respect 3. But basically, once you hit respect 5, it's worth considering going more towards the army route, because he unlocks nobility, which is the 10 damage increase. It's just a little bit awkward because he gets hidden air, which increases skill damage. And then now your men get damage, which kind of feels a little funky. So I mean, he shines starting at respect 3 for doing damage himself, especially if you have really good gear, because of Strider giving your base stats from equipment a huge boost.
Yeah, and that goes up to 30%, right? So that's really good.
That's a huge amount. So he's the kind of character you're gonna try to put your best gear on so that he can deal damage and just have a little bit of tanky units in the front line, and you'll be good to go.
And then Duodine Chieftain, if you were using him as a buffing your army, you could go into Duodine Chieftain with Brawling, Training Well Prepared, which is going to help your units. And then possibly you could still use Strider, right? And then some other maybe attack abilities. But if you did have tier 5 and you wanted to go full into doing army, you'd probably do the Dunedain Chieftain one into Hidden Air into like nobility, right? And then maybe like Strider still or something. But again, I feel like he's a damage dealer, so it's probably better to use Andoril, Striders, and then like
I would definitely say like don't even bother with Strider over Andoril if you want to just get some damage, because
he's a good damage hero.
He's really good on Andoril tree. I think that you'll get more damage off of that than you will off of Strider.
Yeah.
In most cases, unless you have just an exceptional gear.
Yeah. They say he's balanced because of the two different types of trees, but I feel like he's more leans like a warrior, like Gimli or Dwalin. He just does so much damage. All right, so let's talk about your overpowered Gandalf the Gray. So Gandalf is only level 2 respect, so I can only use the first trees. But why don't you talk about this guy?
All right, so Gandalf is incredible because every tree he has is really good in its own right. The thing that really makes him shine, though, is he has a few 1-point wonder skills that are huge.
Yeah.
And the truth is, having him at respect 3 is all you need for him to be really, really, really good. But even at respect 1, he's just, like, doesn't even lose 5% of his effectiveness.
Yeah, he's amazing. So
basically, this ability, the Gray, is the main thing that you want to work around when you're making a build with him. The fact that he does healing, or has a 50% chance to do healing every time he does damage, is incredible, because there are items that basically make you do an extra hit of damage every time you attack, which is, instead of goes from 10 chances in a 10-round fight, it goes to 20. Plus, you also get Blindside as a skill that does damage, and you could, if you have Respect 3, get Surge, which does damage 2 different times, and all of those are going to also trigger a chance to heal.
Which is crazy.
So, yep,
and then
so
you
it's
also
a lot
have
of good
fleeting
healing.
movement, which 2 allies have a chance to avoid being hit. So, and that's like a 77% chance, right, at full points?
Yeah, it goes. Yeah, it goes up to 70, I think.
So,
it doesn't. I don't know why the extra 0.7 at level 1, but yeah.
Yeah, that's still crazy though, because like it's insane because not only is he healing people,
I think it's 75 actually,
and he's like stunning enemies, he's also helping his people avoid hits, like
right.
And that's just the top tree.
He's definitely best with 2 units.
Like a tank and a damage dealing unit.
Yeah, like maybe like 30 to 40% tank, and then the rest just doing damage. And we'll get to that in a second if you look at his next tree.
So Mithrandir,
So with Mithrandir, he's got this. First of all, you max it, and he gives all. You can only have 3 allied units, and he's going to give them all avoidance on the first instance of damage. Incredible, because there's a lot of enemies out there that do extra damage on their early attacks, and lots of skills that give extra damage in the early rounds, and he's just mitigating that completely for the first thing that they get hit.
3, that's so crazy, yeah.
But in addition to that, you have these first 4 rounds where even if they do get a hit, all enemies have a reduced damage. So what's great about that is that if you have 1 troop, 2 troops, 3 troops, it doesn't matter, because you're doing that to all the enemies. So basically, it's just very, very effective on reducing their damage early.
Yeah. And then under Mithrandir, he's got the one that literally gives, for 2 rounds, all your allies get more initiative and a chance to attack twice, which again, starting to hit. So he's just like, all around, his character is insane.
Well, the thing about initiative is you just need it once. It's a status. You get initiative as a status, and what it means is you strike first.
Yeah.
So it's not gaining
like
speed per se. It's actually making you go first, guaranteed. Even if somebody has 1,000 and your troop had 50, you just get initiative.
It's just an ability. He just gets it. Yeah. Okay. Versus
so
like a speed
you could put
war.
1 point in that just to have the initiative and come back to it later to max it out later on.
Wow. Yeah. And then free people, which is great, because no matter who you're using, pretty much what units, they're going to get defenses.
Yes. If you have Gandalf Respect 1, I would probably do free people last as far as from all these
It's
skills.
the weakest out of all these, and yet that's still really good.
It'd be okay to leave 1 point in blindside after you get it, and then max out free people, but it just makes sense to kind of get everything else first, because you really want him to shine in the first round or 2 or 4.
Yeah.
And then he just survives.
Yeah, and then so the wizard is what you're talking about with Pharamir and Haldir, right? This is why they counter this, because this is OP. Right? So if you have tier 3, 1 round against 2 enemy targets inflicts stun defense, and that reduces their defenses for 3 rounds, which is crazy, right? And he gets more focus too, which makes him even stronger because does a lot of focus abilities. But so this is what that Haldir anti-stun and Faramir help against.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, because most Gandalf builds that you're gonna see are gonna put 2 points in Wizard, and then go down and put 1 point in Surge, and then they're just gonna leave it there.
Heal. Yeah.
So that they get the extra procs for their chances to heal, and then also because you get that stun at round 1.
Yeah, and then Pipeweed would be like the last thing, just for little extra points if you have extra points. Would Pipeweed probably be better
you would
than
you would never do Pipeweed unless you were trying to build a damage Gandalf, which is
just
very
not as good.
Very bad compared to how good
his tanking
he is
and
for the
defense.
healing and tankiness. Yeah,
he's definitely more of a leader commander. So now respect 5 with White Council. I'm not respect 5. I don't know if you have respect 5, but what?
Yeah, I have him respect 6 actually.
Yeah,
close to 7.
Okay, which means then you have 7 extra points to use in your tree too.
Right. So the thing with White Council is Mithrandir is generally going to be better than what White Council gives you.
Okay.
So when you're trying to make a choice, just do Mithrandir. But White Council, this tree is exceptionally good against the evil commanders in the game, because a lot of them do focus, burn, and poison damage, and you can spec into high alert and reduce how much damage they take from those types of damages by 50%, which is just absurd. I mean, imagine being against a focus dealing commander that does somewhere around 100k focus damage in a fight, then you reduce that by 50%.
Which is
that's really good. And so a lot of commanders do burn damage. They convert their physical damage into burn damage on the evil commanders. That's going to get reduced.
And then champion
poison damage isn't quite as rampant, but it's still around on some of the ranged commanders, such as I think Haldir had the ability to do some poison damage, and there's some weapons that do poison damage. So
yeah. So there's some people that I could help with again. And the reason we're saying versus evil and good commanders is, again, this is a risk board game. So you're not just okay, one team is elves, we're Gondor, we're allies, we're gonna fight Mordor. We're actually been fighting the elves, right? They're another risk board of people playing. So a lot of times we're fighting good heroes. We're fighting other Gandalfs, we're fighting other Haldirs, that kind of stuff. So, but if we were fighting Isengard or Mordor or these other factions that have evil heroes when they start, that's why he's saying that High Alert is really good, because a lot of their people do poison damage and fire damage.
Right.
But again, focus
the other
is the
thing
big
too
one
is
too.
more important. Look at the next one. It's the Champion of the Light. It's just
down here at the
4% at 1, and so that's literally 28% more damage against orcs, Uruk-hai, and trolls.
Which is amazing.
So that's really, really good.
It's amazing.
But one thing that I think is worth noting, and I've been doing this myself recently, this tree is also really good if you have access to Oathbreakers, because the focus damage reduction reduces the damage that they take to themselves from hitting, as well as reducing the damage from their only sources of damage they can take by 50%.
Which is Mithrandir and White Council, right? Damage received.
You want White Council and you want High Alert.
Okay. Oh,
that's
I see.
Also part of White
because
Council.
They hurt themselves. They always do.
Yes,
they
always hurt themselves by about 10% or so of the damage.
So you take 50% off that with High Alert.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, that's really
good.
Yes,
but also they can't take any physical damage. So the only damage they can take is focus, burn, and poison damage.
Okay. So it makes them that much tankier. Yeah.
Yep.
Which is why I'm trying to get my Gandalf to 5, so I want to use him with my Oathbreakers, so which are a higher unit again in the game.
Yeah, and what I've been doing is I've been using them as kind of a front line, and then I've just been putting some damage dealers in the back because I still like to take advantage of
the double heal.
Yeah, the healing a little bit and the avoidance
2
stats
allies
that he gives.
Yeah, because he gives it to 2 people. Sweet. Well, I think we covered him pretty dang good.
Yeah.
Now I don't have Arwen, but you do, so I don't know if you want to talk about her.
Yeah, I have Arwen respect 6 as well.
Oh my gosh, so she's a support heal, so she's kind of like a Gandalf where she has a lot of healing. But why don't you just tell us what you think is the best build for Arwen?
Yeah. I mean, I've done a lot of testing, and just like with most commanders, it depends on what respect you have them at, but she's really great even at respect 1. The main thing I would say with her is you want to spec into her healing, and you want to have just 2 units.
Okay, so
you want to run a front line and 1 like range DPS back line. And then Undumiel is going to heal them, potentially 35% chance to heal every time they take damage, and then it's going to do healing 2 allied targets for Cleansing Touch, healing 2 allied targets for Elven Blessing.
Yeah, so she's got
she can heal from these skills alone at like max level. In the later game fights, you're going to be getting somewhere between maybe 50, 60, 70,000 healing.
Which is a lot. It's a lot of healing in this game, especially if you consider an army sometimes only deals like 100,000 damage. Like,
right?
Not counting the commander, but wow, that's crazy. So
then she also has at respect 5, she's got Parting Gift, which round 8 does a massive ton of healing, and that one skill having 7 points in it, it actually will probably heal on that one roundabout. I think it's been like almost like around 40,000 health healing.
That's crazy.
From one ability.
Oh my gosh. So to fight her, you want someone who has like anti-healing or something, right?
Yeah, anti-healing would be really good against her. She also has this damage reduction from Queen of the Reunited Kingdom, which is actually super strong early.
Oh, okay.
But it's not as strong on its own. I've done just let's take this respect 5 tree and ignore the respect 1 Undamiel tree, and it doesn't feel worth because you get a lot more healing. Like you get about 50% more healing off of the Undamiel tree than you'll get off of
I find it interesting that in her 5 tree that it's nobility and it's for men. It's interesting because she becomes the queen of Gondor reunited, right? In Arnor,
right?
Which that's kind of interesting lore thing right there. But considering she's an elf, right? But
she has in her half-elven tree, she has another thing that does damage for coalition for men and elves.
Oh, and it makes sense she's half-elven because technically Elrond is half-elven too. So that's why she was able to choose. Oh, that's confusing. And then Boon is cool. That's cool. What is her tree 3? Coalition. That's the one where she attacks have a chance for elves and men. Chance to cause maximum damage, which is pretty cool. Does that mean that avoids something that like reduces the damage? Is that why it says causes maximum damage?
No, because every troop has a range of damage that they could hit.
Oh, so okay.
It'll say like 27.
Yeah. Okay.
And this makes it hit for max, but there are certain characters that have a much higher spread, especially in the men category, and so it's nice to have that chance to hit max because you're increasing your damage by maybe 20% by hitting max instead of hitting min.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. And then Boon is damage thing, and then Lady of the River. Do you use that very much? That's more for her doing damage, right?
Yeah, it does. It has her do a little bit more damage, but yeah, it's generally not really worth.
She's more of a leader than a damage dealer.
Yeah, I've messed around with it. She can do around 60k damage a fight if you have her focusing on herself doing damage, which is nowhere near the healing total that she gets.
Got it.
She can heal well over 100,000 if you spec into all of her healing options.
Wow, cool, sweet. All right, well I think we covered her really good. All right, let's do Balin. I'll talk about Balin a little bit. Okay, so I like the dwarves. So I've got him respect 3. So he is a control leader. So he gets extra command, and then also his normal attacks and physical skills also increase the damage caused by units in the commander's army. So his abilities also help his army, which is pretty cool. So he's definitely a leader. He's very powerful. So His I definitely would focus on him more being your commander as in leading troops, like Arwen, like he was saying with Arwen or Gandalf. He's not really like good for doing damage by himself. He can, but it's just not as good because he is Lord of Moria, which is really cool because dwarf one allied unit has a 30% chance this goes up right when you level to 15, so it's way higher. But chance to recover health, deal physical damage, and a chance of taking effects plus 5%. So it's really cool. And then he has Open Wound, which is an ability, right? But again, the cool thing about this is when he casts it on a group of enemies, they can't heal for 2 rounds, and he does some damage. So that's really good. And then Dwarven Leader, it's just a flat. Your dwarves do more damage, and they take less damage. So that's a fantastic buff. Revitalize is really good. It affects 2 allies if you max it out in your group, so they recover HP. You deal damage to someone, an enemy, and then you heal one of your allies. But in this case, you'll deal damage to 1 person if you max it, and then have 2 of your ally units groups heal. I found that it's probably good to have all 3 groups of units in his army. For example, like I thought about just doing Dwarven Guardians and Axe Throwers, just range damage and tanks. But then I found that it's probably better to also have one other group of units, which I use the Goat Riders, which have a damage. They have a special ability that allows them to increase damage for everybody. So, and since he does have the ability to buff all units damage dealt effect by inspiration for the first 3 rounds, and then and not mention he also does it to all dwarf units, it's okay to have. So I would say either 2 or 3 groups of units in his army. I do 3 usually, but so that's kind of cool. Again, Revitalize really only works with 2 groups of units though, but again, it'll just be random. It'll choose 2 of the 3 if you have 3. Frighten's cool. It's really good. For first 4 rounds against 2 enemy targets, there's a really high chance to stun them for each round, which is super good because, again, if I'm stunning them at the beginning and my dwarves are beating them and killing them, that number game starts happening, and then suddenly, boom, you're going to win the fight when in round 5 comes because they weren't able to hit you and you already killed a bunch of them. So it's really good. Now, if you notice Durin's Blood for the level 3, it's the same ones as all the other dwarves we've looked at, right? All in, Whirlwind, and Durin's Blood. They all do the same thing, this tree. So that again, and the 5th tree, again, it's the same thing. Warrior of the Lonely Mountain, they take less damage, your army, and at the max level, you take less burn damage, which is very cool lore-wise for the dwarves, right? Because in the Second Age, right, they were the ones that could fight dragons and not get fried in their armor, because they could take a lot of high heat compared to an elf or a human. So that's that, and then at the top, you get Longbeards, which your commander's physical damage ignores the target's defenses. So your commander does more damage, so that's helping him. But again, he has that special thing that allows him to do the control. I can't find it. Let me click on it. But allows him to do, there it is. His abilities will actually help his army, so that's kind of cool. And then he also has Giant Slayer right down here in the 5th tree, which all the other dwarves have too, that have the Lonely Mountain Warrior. So anyway, that's pretty much Balin. He's a good leader for troops. And then I'm going to quickly pop over and finish up Gimli because he's my main leader right now. Talk about him real quick. So I have him respect 5. If you notice again, he has Experienced Warrior like Dwalin. He has Durin's Blood like all the other dwarves. Same thing, all in and stuff. And then, but he has a thing down here in the bottom. He has Lockbearer, which is Galadriel's hair, right? But 2 allied units, 30% chance of recovering HP. So, and HP recovers modified focus stat. So this is if he's being more of a leader. I don't spec him at all into this part of the tree. You can do this though. He also has Friendly Relations, which is cool. Elves and dwarf damage received is reduced. So if you had a group of like some dwarves and elves in his army, they all would take reduced damage, which is cool. And Protect Elves. Dwarf units with the highest defense protect all elf units and also get more defense. So if you have a bunch of elf archers and then you have a bunch of guardians with a high defense, which are the melee units, dwarves, they will protect, they'll get more defense and they'll protect your elves, which is really cool, right? So, and then tier 5, this is where things get really cool with Gimli too, is the Glittering Cave, right? Lord of the Glittering Caves. He gets more melee damage, which is really, really cool. Oh, wrong button. I always do that and move the screen. And then at max level, your damage from your melee units is also reduced, right? Which is super cool. Your army, so they get tankier. And then you got up the top here, you got break defenses, which again, we talked about this, right? With the break defenses and the open wound at the beginning. So what happens is I put 1 point into both. Let me show you Gimli real quick in my actual army. Let's look at Gimli. Look at how I put the points across him. So if you see, I put most of my points into Experienced Warrior and then Durin's Blood because that increases my damage too. And then I didn't even worry about Whirlwind because I found out that yes, I can hit 2 targets with it, and I might drop 1 more point into it later. But the way it works with All In does so much damage, but then you don't do a lot in the next hit. But the cool thing is I put just 2 points in the Glittering Cave and got 1 point into Break Defenses and 1 point into Open Wound because, again, Break Defenses goes off before Open Wound, and Open Wound does more damage. So Break Defenses ruins the defenses, removes the debuff from the All-In being used, the 50%, and then lets Open Wound do full damage. So we worked very hard to figure that out. Jethro spent an hour with me as testing to figure that out. So those are very good things to know. So Gimli, massive damage dealer. He dealt in one fight, him and his army dealt almost 400,000 damage. He dealt like 260,000 damage in a fight, which is insane, right? When like an army's average damage is like 100. He did like 2.5 times a full army of 6,000 dwarves. So it's really strong. Anyway, so that's my fun champion to talk about.
Yeah,
so
definitely. That was fun to play to help you out with him.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, Jethro's also helped me with a lot of the armor stuff and things, which we did talk about, and I will have that video up for you guys, but it's really long, so but you don't have to watch it if you don't want. If you'd like to, you can. Do you want to talk about Legolas, Jethros, a little bit?
Yeah, Legolas. Sure, it's pretty simple.
He's a damage boy.
You don't need him respect 5, get him respect 3, and just Greenleaf and Elven Prince, and just do the damages.
And then
very
all
similar.
And Mirkwood, Ambusher, Attack, Vitals, Heartseeker.
Yeah,
Duel.
you want all of it. Every single skill does damage, except the dual blows, which you'd probably do last because it's just.
And then,
actually, no, never mind. That's on himself. I thought that was for troops, and so yeah, literally every skill he has.
So the top part of tree 1, the middle, and then the bottom left would be if you were doing troops, but you really should just focus on him being the damage dealer, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, you could if you get him to respect 5, you could theory craft with a troop focused one, but I mean he is a warrior.
Yeah.
You want to use skill damage mostly.
Because again, he has the same. It's interesting because he has a different ability with Dwarf Friend, but his other one's Friend of Relations and Protect Elves is the same one in Gimli's level 1, right? Those 2 abilities, which is interesting. Protect Elves and Friend of Relations are the same. So cool. Yeah, so he's a damage dealer. He's pretty straightforward, I feel like.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go into Theoden here. Theoden's amazing. He's probably better than Awen, right? Because he's a tier 2 commander.
Yeah, that's the word on the street. To be honest with you, I don't know if I'm 100% sold, but I think that he does do more damage, but his healing is not quite as good.
Yeah.
What I mean by he does more damage, I mean he makes troops do more damage.
Okay, he does, like, she has a better tree for fighting herself, but he has a better tree for actually commanding mounted units, right?
Yeah, I've really tested him out a lot, and there's really only one build.
Well, what do you think
at
the best
respect
one?
5? It's 15 points in Rohirrim, 15 points in Area Leader, 15 points in Horsemaster, and then you're gonna do Chaotic Retreat 7 points, and you're gonna be pretty close to out of points at that once you get there, but the leftovers should be going into Riding Excellence to reduce mounted unit damage, which is over part of Rohirrim.
Okay.
And then you want at least 1 point in Cleave, and then just kind of try to get Cleave maxed out.
Okay, so you don't even worry about reinforcement with the heal?
Nope, you don't want to deal with that at all.
If you're tier 5.
Here's the thing about late round healing.
On 7.
You're healing a percentage based on how many troops are still alive at that point.
A lot of them are dead already.
A lot of them can be dead already, and you can miss out on a lot.
So having
it doesn't do all units; it only does 2 units, which you might have a troop just 2 units for him, but it just feels weird. It's really not that much healing.
So that's why this tier 3 one, where you're recovering each round, is so much better. Yeah.
I mean, really, look at what the Renewed does. I mean, it's really bad.
Yeah.
Really, really bad. like you put a point into it, it gives you 6.7% chance of removing a debuff. And granted, that's every round, but you've got to put 15 points into this thing. You get it to be 100%. You're removing a random debuff every time, which sometimes you'll get lucky and remove like a stun.
Renewed, yeah.
But most of the time, you're not gonna be removing anything too meaningful, and then it just gives 15 focus, like which he doesn't really
he needs
get
speed.
that much from it.
Yeah. Speed and might are gonna be better for him in his
So
army.
you're dipping 15 wasted points into this to get 7 points in reinforcement. It's not worth it.
So at level 1, you're gonna probably want to use the first 2, but if you get respect 3, you're gonna want to use the bottom one and the middle one, and then go into the last one if you can with 5. Into chaotic retreat. Okay, sweet. Good. Now I have no idea with Aemir. Do you he's balanced? It says, but is he similar?
He's definitely more of a damage dealer.
Okay, so he's kind of like a weird combo mix between Theoden and Eowyn almost. I notice when I look at him how they flip things, because he is the leader buff at the end. Oh, and mounted units have a chance of dealing more damage. Interesting.
He's got Rohirrim. He's basically Theoden. He's basically Theoden's respect 3 at respect 5, which is decent. But,
okay.
And then, but really at his respect 3, you want to build him for he's actually hitting and doing damage. He has
Swing,
3 abilities that have 1 round cooldowns.
Oh,
so he's
wow.
doing
So he is a damage dealer. Okay.
On a damage, yeah.
All right. So he's more of a focused on being an actual warrior than leading the army. Got it. Sweet. I think it's good cover.
That's the way I see it.
I haven't even seen Denethor. I don't even know what this guy does.
He's really complicated. He's got a lot of text, and basically he does madness damage, or he does madness to people and himself, and it just goes all over the place. And he's basically just trying to force enemies to hit themselves. And if you do end up having to hit yourself, you're not going to be taking very much damage.
He has some similar things to Merry and Pippin with his middle tree. Interesting. Clear-headed. So he also has tip things. Okay. And
he's exactly the same thing as Merry and Pippin, so he's really good at tier 3.
Okay. Mad Steward. Poor Denethor, he has such a bad rap from the movie. Arson, okay, and then he's got deals burn damage. I get it. Another movie joke. No, just kidding. That's the fuck that too. Allied units, 20% chance it's coming to madness.
It's worth noting, I think he's the only good commander that does burn damage.
Interesting. Yeah, that is kind of weird.
But I think, yeah.
Sweet. Well, that's all of the tier 2. There's not very many tier 3. Let's just fly through them real quick. So since we really, and again, me and Jethros, we don't really have any of these. Jethros just got today the King of the Dead with a lucky draw.
Yeah.
That's freaking awesome. So I don't have any of them yet. Of course, I really want Dane as a dwarf.
I was especially lucky because I was already working towards him specifically as my chosen item, and I had the most respect towards unlocking him through items, and then I just got the full invitation, and I was able to get him to respect 4 instantly.
That's so cool. So again, he's a leader, so he gets extra people, and then if he's respect 5, he's amazing at leading the dead. Right, the Oathbreakers. That's just a given.
Definitely what it looks like.
Right,
yeah.
When you look at these abilities up here on this side, but then he looks like he also is a high attacker of enemy leaders, right? Because he ruins their stats and stuff.
Yeah, certain characters like we talked about, Gimli and Legolas, and Dwalin doing tons of damage and up close to 2, and Aragorn doing 200k, 220k damage, 260k. This guy's gonna just mess them up. They're not gonna do any damage, and they're not gonna, be able to do half, if even less, than what they want to do.
He definitely seems like, from what I've read his abilities, it looks like he's more of he supports the dead army if you can get him to respect 5, but then he's more he buffs his army a little, but really just destroys the enemy hero. That's kind of his thing. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you get a lot out of messing up the enemy hero and what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, because that's a lot of skills and a lot of things that you can interrupt with stuns and silences, which is with a tree that I'm trying out first. I'm just doing mock battles right now to get him leveled, and then I'm gonna test him out. I'm also gonna mess
Sweet.
around and see how much focus damage he does with these different. He's got 3 focus damage dealing skills, and so that might be worth taking a look at too.
Yeah, definitely. You know what I found with this map? I just realized it's super big on the right side. I wonder if they're planning on like putting heroes from like the Far East. That would be really cool.
That would
But
be
oh,
awesome.
actually, there probably are. If you play on the dark side, they're probably over here. The bad heroes. I just realized. Huh. I didn't think about that. It's kind of interesting. If we ever do play a mix, there's servers that are going to be role playing guys and or versus mixed, which means you could have good heroes as the bad guys or bad heroes on the good teams. Or if you're role playing it, you can only have good heroes if you're a good faction, and bad heroes if you're a bad faction, being like an orc hero or something. All right, ooh, let's look at Gilgalad real quick. Now this is
Yeah.
one of our friends from Nerd of the Rings has this hero, Dev, right? So, uh, called Iglas, or whatever, or Isella, whatever they say it here. But I hear the spear is called Iglos in the song. But yeah, so it looks like he's we'll just go. I'll go through it real quick because you don't know too much about him, right? Jestros? Do you?
Right.
Yeah, because at this point we haven't used these heroes a lot yet, guys. So and there's not many people who have, but in season 2, a lot more people will have these, so we can make more videos on these later if you guys
Yeah, I
want.
mean, I've
So
looked at the trees pretty extensively, all of them, because I'm always
yeah,
really curious about it. But
so he's
were
definitely
you
an
still
elf
looking at
leader.
Gilgalad?
We're looking at Gilgalad. I just opened it.
Yeah, yeah.
So Kinglykin, right? So he's good at elf, right? Leading,
Mhm.
obviously. And then all allies get more damage, which is cool. So I guess you don't have to have just elves. Well
Yep.
prepared is all melee units. He buffs. And then the top one is his damage, right? And he's
Yeah,
got
and it's
Dazzle,
really got some really good skills in there. I mean,
the legendary spear.
yeah.
It's pretty
Basil
cool.
just looks incredible. Icicle looks incredible.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
put 1 point in that
Oh,
probably.
I think they call it Icicle the ability because Cold Iglos, the actual spear's name, uses it's like almost like ice. I remember in this story. It's been so long. I just know there's a really good song with Lonely Mountain Band. They did a song about that. Okay, and then White Council. That's the same as Gandalf, right?
It's the same as Gandalf
Because
the Gray had, yeah.
which makes sense because he's part of the White Council originally.
So again, this would be mostly situational for the fact that you might be fighting evil commanders a lot, and it's also situationally good with the Oathbreakers. So yeah, you could.
Sweet.
I think actually with him leading Oathbreakers and speccing into his Icicle Tree and the White Council could be pretty devastating.
Yeah.
But what I would definitely do a Respect 5 is I would go for the Kinglykin tree and the High King tree.
Yeah.
Just
So,
have your elves be insane.
and again, his level 3 is Gandalf the Gray's level 5, right? Because he's also got High Alert and Champion of Light again, which are so good. And then High King is tier 5, right? You're saying all elven damage received. That's amazing in HP. And then Chaotic Retreat. And then and he's interesting. He has elven leader. Why does it have the symbol of an ent? What's going on there?
Yeah,
Each round,
just,
elves 3.6% chance to follow up. Something's wrong there. I don't know why there's a symbol of the ent symbol on there, but I think that's
they
a glitch.
just reuse them.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, they'll probably update them in the next season. They're doing a lot of work on this game. They're doing a great job though. But sweet. Let's do. I have no idea about Elrond. Let's talk about Elrond real fast. He looks legit. I kind of like how some of the characters they did an animation to make them look like the story, and some are like the movie actors, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord of Imladris. Okay. So he's deals damage. All right, and he prioritizes range units. That's cool. So if you have an enemy team that has a melee group and then 2 range groups, he'll hit the range groups. That's pretty cool. Rush, 1 enemy deals physical damage. Okay, so these are his damaging abilities. First 2 rounds, all ally units gain initiative. That's awesome. So that's when you'd put 1 point in, right? Like you were saying.
You could, yeah. I mean,
if you were doing an army leading.
You could put 1 point in it to get the initiative, yeah.
Half elven. That's the same that this is what his daughter has, right? Boon.
Yep.
Coalition. See, again, if you're noticing, guys, too, there's copying of abilities and names right now. So he has White Council because he's the White Council. High Alert, Champion of Light, same thing. But now his level 5 is, Vilya's Ring Bearer, right? His Ring of Power. All Elven, they do more damage and he gets focus damage. Cool. Rapid Healing, he's got a healing ability, and Starlight. Does more damage to Uruk-hai orcs and trolls. Cool. He's pretty he's kind of self-explanatory. He's not too complicated, is he?
No, not really.
And then there's Gandalf. Oh, no, that's Galadriel. Gandalf the White. Again, they do this with Gandalf and Aragorn. They do a upper level of them, like a tier 1, and then they are tier 2 of them, right? Where are they? Tier 1s? They're tier 1s, right? I can't even think right now. Tier 1s, and then there's tier 3s of them. Have you seen anyone use Gandalf? So the White. After command, deal 1. So focus damage. Okay, so it's damage dealing. His army's defenses go up. And Blindside, which is the same thing Gandalf the Gray has, right?
Yeah.
Which is pretty good. Okay. Then we got Wizard. I'm just going to go through these a little faster here. Wizard against 2 targets. That's the same thing Gandalf has on tier 3, right? This is the tier 3 tree.
Mm-hmm.
So basically he's upgraded. He gets it faster. And then he has White Council, just like the other one, which is cool. And then his level 5 is White Rider, which is amazing. His army gets plus 20 speed. Enemy army damage received. They get more. The enemy army gets more and more damage taken, and it stacks up to 4 times. Horsemanship, so he's actually good at leading mounted units. And he has reinforcements, which again, reinforcements isn't that great, right? Because that's the one Theoden had you were telling me about.
Right. Well, if you have a lot of ability to keep yourself alive and avoid damage early, then having it late is good. That's why it was really good on Arwen. But it's when it's your only heal, or you have like little tiny heals every round, like with Theoden, it doesn't really have as much impact. Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. And now Galadriel, I don't actually know. Like, let's just look at her abilities real quick. Have you even
love her?
Well, yeah. So
she does.
I mean,
so
she's
much
amazing. We all love Galadriel. What? Which one? Go ahead.
She just does insane amounts of focus damage. Like you unlock her and she already has everything you want at Respect 1.
Magic. Ooh. Focus damage. Normal attacks cause focus damage, and then she's got Surge, which we know what that does. Forceful Wrath. Okay, so yeah, man, goodness. Lady of Lorien. Allied units recover. Ooh, okay. All right, some health. Parting Gift. Oh, that's the one that what's her name has on tier 5, right? Purity. Each round, all allies chance of removing one of them. Wow, that's cool. Okay.
See, that one's good because you put 7 points in it, and then you get that every round. But like having to do that 15 points to get that same effect just feels rough.
Yeah. That makes sense. And then of course she's part of the White Council, High Alert, Champion of Light. Interesting how then Nenya, right? Her Ring of Air, right? Wait, yeah, I think hers is the Ring of Air. Right. Ring of Fire is Gandalf's, and the Ring of Water is. Wait a second. Did I flip? I think I flipped Elrond and Galadriel. I don't know. I think hers is the Ring of Air. Anyway.
It says Ring of Water on the skill here, so it makes me think that.
Oh, does it?
Hers, yeah.
Which way? Where?
That's the Ring of Water.
Oh, okay. Yeah, hers is okay. That's what I thought, because I was pretty sure that Círdan gave the ring to Elrond. That was. Or no, Círdan gave the fire ring to Gandalf, and the other guy. I think it's Did Gil-galad give the ring to Elrond? The Ring of Air? I think that's what it is. Yeah. Yeah, she's had the Ring of Water forever. That makes sense too, because she had the Sing thing, right? The Sing bowl. That's pretty cool, the Ring of Water too. One allied unit every 2 rounds recovers HP and gains a 50% chance of an additional. Gosh, that's so good. Oh, and then she gets just focus damage with the ring. Magical barrier defense during combat, effect modified by. Wow, dude, yeah, she's like a super magic fighter. That's so cool.
Yeah, she does a lot of magic damage, a lot of focus damage, and just defends her army really well in the meantime.
All right, so then let's talk about Aragorn II, King of Men. He's got the same thing as Aragorn, the first one, right? Without King of Men title on top. He's got Anduril, Cold a Week, weapons. Now he has Elisar. What is his name? Sorry. Elisar, thank you. My tongue tied up there. 2 allied units recover HP and get a chance of reactivating effect once. Wow, that's really cool. Okay, every 2 rounds. So it looks like he would be good at leading an army of 2, according to all these abilities that say 2.
That's definitely what we're looking at right now.
Yeah. Elven Blessing. That makes sense because he's a healer, right? Like, that's what he's good at in the book, too. They do. All allied units do more damage. That's pretty cool. Then he's got Strider. Same thing. It buffs his equipment. The Blow, Raid. So, interesting that he really could put him as a damage fighter again. You could.
Well,
Where's
yeah,
this
he
last
could be built
stuff?
exactly like
Yeah.
Aragorn the second.
So
tier
in
2 one.
theory, too, that's kind of cool because they have separate stamina bars. So you can have them both as heroes. If you have them both. So you could build them identically for damaging and literally just have 2 of the same guy, basically.
Yeah, but you have to pick which one you want your best equipment on.
That's true.
My guess
That's
is
true.
that this guy has better like scaling on like his natural bonuses from
Yeah,
leveling. Because he's the harder one to unlock.
That makes sense. It does say 20% physical damage with the first Anduril, and I think the other one's only 15 on the other guy. I think. We should look real quick. Let's look real quick. I'm curious now. Oh, Aragorn is at level 2nd. He level 2, so is Gandalf the Gray. We're gonna look right now. Nope, it's the same. It's 20%. Maybe it scales more though later with gear or something. All right, and then so that's pretty cool. And then what's his last little tree real quick? King of Men. First 5 rounds, men when affected by stun or madness receive less damage. Okay. Return of the King. Haha, we're talking about the movies. That's pretty cool. They just your guys do more damage on round 5 and onward. Duodyne Bloodline. Men have more damage.
Aragorn does more damage.
Yeah, yeah.
Round
Oh,
5 and
yeah.
onward.
He does. Okay, yeah.
It's a big boost though. 70% more damage.
So he
from
becomes
round 5 onward.
Yeah. So I guess you could either use Duodyne Blood with King of Men, or you could back into Return of the King to if you're doing the damage for him. So he can kind of
This
just.
one doesn't have Duodyne Blood.
Huh?
This one has LSR.
Yeah. Oh well, I mean at the very end, after you get King of Men, the bottom right.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dane. Yeah.
All right, and then there's 3 more guys, and this weird-looking man who looks nothing like the movies. They totally had creative license on Radagast the Brown, which I think it's fine. I think he looks fine. He actually looks like a video game art of something else I saw one time. So he has Wizard, which is in Gandalf's level 3, right? Normally, with Surge.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then the Brown, first 2 rounds, all ally units damage received. So again, he's good at like, that's pretty cool. He's like almost he really protects stuff. It's all reductions, huh? So he's like a leading unit. So I feel like he's really good with having animals though, right? Because then he also has healer in 2. He's got cleansing touch, which is also a healing thing. He's got relief, which is a healing thing. And then his 5, he's got bird tamer, which is crazy. Eagles can't be stunned at max level. And they get crazy speed, and don't eagles get increased damage from speed? That's their ability.
Yeah.
And then he also has Beast Trainer, which beasts or eagles or creatures all recover health. And he also has March Speed to increase how fast eagles are. So I just feel like this guy is heal support speed boy for eagles and creatures, which is crazy. It makes sense. He's Radagast, but
Bjornings are gonna get heals from that beast training too.
That's true. That's true. Because in this, even though technically that makes sense. All right, I have not even looked at Thranduil. Like he's got the Grey Elf. That's the same as Legolas, which is buffing his troops. Mirkwood's Vigor. Each round, all enemies deal poison damage. Oh, that's kind of cool. So this is a hero that does poison damage on the good side.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, some of the elves are the main ways that you get poison damage.
Got it. And then he has Whirlwind, interesting, like the dwarves, and Swing. They put that in. So he is a fighter, which makes sense. Heir of the Greenwood the Great. Okay. Each instance causes physical damage. There's a 40% chance to heal 1 allied target. Wait, what? Each instance of physical damage?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So that means there's just chances he's healer recovering health all the time.
You want to give him
or is that his abilities?
Oh, hold on. I think it's him.
Of causing physical damage. So when he hits something. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you can have a pierce weapon that has that, and that would be there would be a second way to trigger that.
Ooh.
Kind of like how Gandalf triggers with pierce as well, his healing.
And then and then he increases his damage in that tree, and then ambush is another ability he can use. Deal physical or poison damage once. Huh. Okay. And then what is his respect 5? King of the Woodland Realm? Elf? Oh, interesting. That's pretty cool. So he gets a defending buff if it's max.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Really, so he's like, you put him in your spot, you do not want anyone to get by, basically. High alert. Oh, that's cool. He has high alert again. And then Elven Leader. That's like Elrond. Okay. Sweet. And then the last one, we will end with Dane Ironfoot, who I really want. Don't worry, I'll get him someday. But he's got Lord of the Iron Hills, which is crazy. Dwarven melee units, normal attacks deal more % damage. And then if you get to max, it's obviously 2 times 15, 30%. And then it affects all your units. So it could be a ranged unit or a horse goat unit in this case. Dwarven Leader, same thing as the other dwarves, right? They take more damage, do less damage. Reverse that. They do more damage, take less damage. Fortify. This is what's cool, that this is in his level 1 tree. Like Theoden, it's in his respect 5. I love the fact that this is in his level 1 tree. While defending, allied units physical damage is reduced by 2.5%. Of course, that's times 7 later. That's a lot for a level 1 thing. So he's a great defender. Ironfoot, where he got his name for bashing in that orc leader, which we're going to find on Lord of the Rings Online pretty soon, guys.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. We're going to learn about that later in our series. Against one enemy target, deal 20% physical damage, 35% chance of stunning the target for 1 round. Basically smashes them in the face with his foot. So, that's good. He has open wound at level 1, which is interesting, because this is all in tier 5 for Gimli and the other ones. Vengeance, 5 rounds on deal more physical damage. So this is his damage dealing tree. He's got Durn's Blood again. All the dwarves have the same thing. Whirlwind, all in. Okay. Last thing, he's a king under the mountain. He gets a bunch more might. Max level, his dwarves all get a bunch more health. Detect weakness. The commander has 24% chance of gaining damage. That goes up down here at the bottom. And then at the top, we have Longbeards. The commander physical damage ignores the target's defenses, so he does more damage. So he's a combination of a warrior / leader. So it's pretty cool. Well, we did it, Jethros. That was a little bit longer than I was shooting for an hour and like 15, but we did it. We did it.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add before we finish up the video?
No, I mean, the only thing is, it does matter a little bit to get into, like, what equipment you're supposed to be using with each of these two.
Absolutely.
Make a big difference, but then the video would be 3 hours, so.
Yeah. We could do some more divided up videos too, guys, if you want us to. So, like, if you guys don't forget to like and subscribe, but don't also, at the bottom, leave a comment. Like, what do you want us to go over? Do any of these heroes more specifically, or do you want us to go over some more about equipment, or make more videos? Are you interested in that for the people who are on my channel, or people who are new to join our channel? Jethros is like one of my best friends, so that's why I'm saying our channel. But but anyway, I consider him part of the Voice of the Rings family, if you are wondering. So anyway, I will see you guys all. Have a wonderful day in Middle Earth. Thank you so much, Jethros, again. So I'll go ahead and pop up there, and I'll finish up the video here.
My pleasure.
All right, my friends. You're all awesome. You guys have a wonderful day in Middle Earth. I want a quick little shout out to my Patreon right here. Ooh, well, my thing is frozen. That's always fun. Hold on 1 second, if you can hear me. All right, thanks to my Patreon right there. You're awesome. I appreciate it. If you guys want to support me on Patreon, there's a link down there. Also, I do stream on Twitch sometimes too with the games like this and things. But I thought for this, we were going to do a little video for this because we've really been enjoying this game. So I wanted to kind of share it with you guys and talk about commanders because there's not really too many videos out there talking about the commanders. Again, I know it's not super in detail, but this is as much as we know. It's the first season of the game. So we did our best showing you guys what we could show you. The next If you click that little subscribe button that pops up there, be up there in a second. Next video in this playlist for a Lord of the Rings excursion like this will be up there. Our main playlist will let your tales over there. You should check it out. I'll be hosting guides all in Iron Shield. And again, down there's some free links to things too, like Twitter and Facebook and a bunch of stuff for our Voice of the Rings fellowship. So you guys have a wonderful day in Middle Earth, and I will see you in the next episode of Voice of